Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Chris,
Lee.
Timed out. Sorry, you didn't make it in time.
Oh yeah, of course. The Saturday farce. That was because you started us too late.
No, I went at the right time. I just missed the chicane.
If you say so. Yeah, should we start with that just quickly, or?
Yeah, we should. Well, we'll go back. We'll go back actually to Friday.
Can we go back to Belgium just quick? Because Nico Hülkenberg did this in Spa. He slowed right down on the... It wasn't like a critical point of qualifying where people were going to miss their laps. But he slowed right down. If you remember, like they were doing like 20 miles per hour, like approaching the bus stop.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yep.
And we thought, well, that can't be allowed to happen because eventually someone's going to miss their lap. Then in Q3, the very next race... seven drivers didn't do their final runs because they didn't go across the line in time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because they were playing this weird sort of game of brinkmanship.
Well, it's turned into fucking cycling at some point, hasn't it?
Well, yeah.
On qualifying.
This all kicked off in F3 qualifying on Friday.
Is that what had to be red flagged?
Yeah, the red flagged it was something like, I think it was 5.5 minutes left. I was trying to work out, I'd just switched it on as the red flag came out. I was like, what the hell's going on? Has somebody crashed? As it turned out, there were two groups of cars on the track, because F3 has got a 30-car grid.
Yeah, so it's quite a big spread.
There was 13 drivers doing hot laps and 17 drivers doing out laps.
Wow.
And they were all going remarkably slowly, and the hot lap drivers were actually coming up to the back of the train of slower cars. So they just red flagged it. And the grid for Saturday's F3 race, 17 out of 30 drivers had penalties.
Wow.
Whoa.
Even the guy in pole position had a 3-place grid drop.
And then started on pole.
But still started on pole. It was that complicated.
Well, I'm amazed. I'm amazed Formula One drivers didn't get penalties for qualifying. There was three penalties jump out at me that are slam dunks that should have happened. Hülkenberg should have had a penalty for intentionally cutting the chicane. Lance Stroll should have had a penalty for bunching the field up. Because as soon as he saw Hülkenberg cut the chicane,
He thought, I don't want to be first.
he knew he knew what he was up to, and he slammed the anchors on. Now, I think what he did was worse than Hülkenberg, because he slammed the anchors on at a fucking chicane. And Vettel should have had his lap penalised.
You can add another penalty to Vettel for that, because on the first run of Q3, he did it to the chicane when he was first one out.
But what about Albon? Albon, who came on, who deliberately cut the chicane and then said on the radio, "I'm cutting the chicane because I want to get ahead of this lot."
Yeah. Also, I think Charles Leclerc got away with having the finger pointed at him for when the field sort of bunched up. When Vettel was wanting to get on with it, and Charles Leclerc was in front of him, Charles Leclerc didn't bolt because he didn't want to give Vettel the toe that it was his turn to have.
Yeah. Apparently Binotto sat the pair of them down on Saturday night and read the riot act to them, mainly Leclerc for doing that. Is the Charles Leclerc playing mind games and giving it I'm number one at the minute?
I don't think it's I'm number one. I think he's trying to get rid of Vettel. Things like that. That is an Alonso level, McLaren level trick.
Well, the thing is, the fact that Vettel was supposed to have the toe the second run, it shouldn't have mattered when the Ferraris went, because Vettel was the one getting the toe from Leclerc second time round. Do you know what I mean? But I think Leclerc was being quite, I don't want to say selfish, but being quite mindful of himself, thinking that, well, I don't want to not have a toe myself because I want to get good.
He'd already got pole position. Yeah, he'd already had provisional pole.
Yeah, but he knew that there were other teams that would probably try a similar thing. Ferrari do it almost every time, don't they? The toe at Monza, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it worked for Leclerc in the first run. But switching it around for Vettel in the second run. I don't think
he got the toe off Vettel in the first run, though, did he? I think there was the
gap too big.
Yeah, I think a car got in between them. It wasn't Vettel not wanting to do it. I think someone got in between them, and that.
So is it pettiness then in that respect from Leclerc? Well, I actually didn't get a toe, so you're not getting one either.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Sainz was the first to go, wasn't he? When they eventually went.
When they eventually decided halfway around the parabolic, oh God, we better put our foot down.
Yeah, otherwise we're not going to make it. Sainz was the first one to go, and Leclerc followed Sainz. So in that respect, did he just want a toe for himself, but also tried to get on with it? Because they were the only two drivers that crossed the line for a timed lap.
Leclerc didn't either. That was a mistake on the timing thing. Yeah,
I thought it was Sainz and Leclerc.
It was just Sainz.
Right, because the timing got confusing in the first runs in Q3 because at first Bottas didn't have a time when the red flag came out for Kimi's crash, and he only got his time put on about 5 minutes later while they were still clearing things up.
Apparently, I did see a tweet about that. The red flags don't count when they come out. It's when the drivers get told about them.
Wow, that's nebulous, isn't it?
Because hang on, they have the display on the steering wheel as well that tells them when the red flags are out.
Yeah.
So is it when it comes up on their displays, or when they get physically told in their ear when race control?
It's when they come up on the display.
Right, because that's almost instantaneous. Because the red flags are in with the lights, and when the lights flash, that's the same system that will send that to the driver.
I mean, Bottas was incredibly close to the line when the red flag came out, and if it's only say a tenth of a second between the lights coming on for the red flag and it coming on the display, that could be that tenth that he crossed the line in.
Yeah, maybe. And also you got to allow for human reaction time as well. Which red flag, right? Cool. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, well, the red flag came out. There has to be some allowance, like there is off the line. Isn't it 2/10 or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
For the lights going out to when you actually start moving. Any less than 2/10, it's considered a guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What was it? The go on the B of bang, the old Linford Christie saying.
Go on the B of bang. I like that one.
So after that we had a bit of an interesting time of things with the race. Just want to point out Kimi Räikkönen crashing into the word drink.
Yes, yeah,
that is the most Kimi crash ever. Also,
when someone asked him about the whole qualifying debacle of people slowing down, he said, "I don't care. I wasn't involved."
Alpha went a bit extra uber Italian, didn't they?
They had a green stripe on the car,
and a green stripe on the overalls of the drivers as well, so that they were wearing the Italian flag.
Yeah. I mean, there was the teaser tweet that they put out on Thursday.
Wow, it looks amazing.
It looks amazing. Oh, it's so different. Oh, great. Oh, that's perfect for Italy. Kimi. It's a little bit different.
It's got a bit of green on it. Bit of green.
Didn't even say that much.
No, because it was pictures. It was.
Yeah. You saw the back of the picture, and all Kimi said was,
it looks
it's a little different.
Yeah.
I think that was a nicer colour, to be fair. Having the bit of green on it, it gave it a bit of character, because I think the Alpha lacks character.
Bit more Italian to it.
Yeah.
It is technically a Swiss team, though, isn't it? Really, let's be honest. Swiss team run by Alfa Romeo.
Peter Salva was on Ted's notebook.
Oh, was he? I didn't see
that. Ted said,
he must be about how old now? 72?
106.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Burns.
Yeah. And Ted said, "Oh, you'll be happy to know that I still call Alfa Romeo Salva all the time by mistake." And Peter Salva turned around and it's still Salva.
And yet the only team on any of the grids that is called Sauber isn't run by Sauber, because the Sauber Junior team F2 is run by Charouz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is most confusing. But so Saturday was a bit farcical, wasn't it, with the whole Q3 thing? But what can they do to stop that from happening again in, say, Singapore? I don't think it'd be such an issue in Singapore, because a toe is not.
Yeah, it's only going to be.
It's an intrinsic problem.
The high engine power ones, isn't it?
So Suzuka then, in that case.
I mean, what the race director put an edict out, one of the FIA official documents, saying that there was a minimum lap time of what the normal safety car delta would be for any lap on the circuit. Whether that got followed or not, I don't know. But even if they did follow it, they came out too late.
Yeah, they were so late coming out. It was really quite weird.
And I think it was Ted that pointed it out on Sunday that they are not actually required to put the car on track during qualifying.
No, well, we have it all the time, don't we? Yeah, quite often you get a
Well,
I don't know,
Albon in Spa, for example, went out did an installation lap. Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah,
Or a Force India, you'll get like a Force India that gets into Q3, knows he's not going to get any higher than 10th.
And it still saves the tyres.
And it's probably run out of tyres. And of course, the old days when it was just one session and you could do 12 laps.
Like get the tyres back in Q3.
In Hungary, you didn't used to see a car until 20 minutes to go.
Look, I know that people hated the half an hour usually of waiting for the first car to come out, but the hour session with the 12 laps is still my favourite qualifying format.
I like the one session 20-minute qualifying that you get on the old Formula 1 games.
Yeah.
Because the same thing would happen there. Sometimes you'd be waiting. You go out and get an early lap in, think, okay, that'd be fine. And then, like, nothing would happen. And then all the fast drivers would go out and try and get their laps within, like, as the track evolved. Yeah. You know, and trying to find space with a few minutes to go. That was always good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with the hour sessions, my favourite ones were always where, you know, one of the backmarker teams would go out and do an early lap.
Yeah, sweep the
and then it rained.
And then it'd start pissing down with rain for the rest of the session, and they were on pole.
Yeah, I do. I missed that. Mind you, I mean, to be fair, when you look at all the other qualifying like formats we've had, this is probably the best TV wise way of doing it.
Although the way that Formula 1 is getting shown on TV at the moment is just terrible. There's cut into crowd shots.
Yeah.
When there's cars on track.
Do you know what that reminded me of?
Some of the directors
cars off track.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what that reminded me of? Did anybody ever watch, especially when they were younger, where you'd have like WWE superstars on, like
on a Saturday
afternoon?
morning, and instead of seeing the chair shot, you'd see somebody in the crowd covering the face.
It was exactly the same thing. So like, if something happens that you think
you'd
they can't
hear
show, and it cuts to the crowd. It was great,
wasn't it? It was Heat, wasn't it, on a Sunday morning?
Yeah. Heat replaced superstars.
Yeah.
He's broken in half like a watermelon, but you're not going to get to see it.
and when there was anybody who was injured and, in inverted commas, bleeding, it would be suddenly black and white. It was the only thing that worked when it was on their face.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I think there's one tweak that I think might work for qualifying. Don't know if anyone of you three has watched any of the IndyCar road course qualifying.
No. Never
this season. I didn't know it was something that they did, but they actually put a different timing line in for qualifying before pit lane entrance. So you don't do a full out lap, cross the normal finish line, and then do a full lap, and then do a full in lap. You can actually go out, do say 75% of an out lap, start your qualifying lap, and then pit straight away. I think that might work, because if they're wanting to get more out of the tyres, they're only doing 2 laps. And one of those is a hot lap.
Yeah, it could be what is essentially the DRS detection zone or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So you're only doing 2 laps, so you'll actually get more laps out of the tyres that you're using for quali.
I think they fucked it a little bit with. Remember when they changed it to that crazy format that they did for 2 races?
2016, yeah.
Never happened. No.
We
didn't see it.
I think they should have stuck to it for the year. I think they were the rules they were in with, and they should have stuck to it.
And let the teams complain that it was boring for the fans.
But it didn't have to be boring. In my head, right, let's say you had a half an hour qualifying session, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, make it 45 minutes. I don't know. We'll say half an hour for now to make it easier. And you do, so say we've got a 20 car grid. That makes it easy too. So you send all the cars out for they have 10 minutes of going round, and then after that, every minute another car is eliminated. Yeah, at that point you have a race for who's going to get pole. So you put it out in reverse championship order. So Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have got to make their way through the train, and then you would end up with like somewhat 9th and 10th racing each other around the track to the start finish straight, because the guy in 10th knows if by the time he gets there in 10th he's going to be eliminated from qualifying.
10 lap sprint race for
well no, it would be like a 20-minute sprint race, and then the last car across the line every lap after 10 minutes is eliminated.
So it would be 10 minutes plus 19 laps.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, that makes more sense. Or yeah, I suppose in that case, to work it easier, you could do like a 25 lap race is probably better, isn't it?
So your first 5 laps are free.
Get the tires up to temperature and all that sort of stuff, and then after 5 laps, they start getting eliminated.
That'd work.
Yeah, I mean that's your Saturday race then, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's still qualifying,
and it could be done within the hour that qualifying is.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Everyone has to do it on the same tyres.
Yeah.
But that's what I think.
Qualifying tyres, bring them back.
Yeah, that's what I think that...
You never get 25 laps out of a set of qualifying tyres from those days.
No, but I mean, qualifying tyres for that format would work well.
But that's what I think the elimination qualifying would have evolved into if they hadn't have, like, panicked. You know, it's and like thrown the baby out with the bathwater and changed the rules 2 races.
I think a lot of that was the teams trying not to make it work because there was cars not going out.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And you know, if there's a loophole, an F1 team will find it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think with your idea, you'd want the elimination line to be just a bit before the pits, so you get eliminated, you come into the pits straight away.
Yes, yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. Mix the 2 ideas together. That's an interesting one.
We just fixed Formula 1 between us again.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's much better idea than what I was thinking, because I was thinking, well, you tell the drivers, stop dicking around, or we'll do it Isle of Man TT style, where you get started off at 10 or 20 second intervals.
Yeah, see that puts you both. I think the worst.
Then you're almost back to one-shot qualifying.
I was just going to say, and that's the worst qualifying we've ever had. One-shot qualifying. That was the absolute drizzling.
It was, yeah. It was boring.
Yeah. David Coulthard was rubbish at it as well. Rubbish.
Jenson Button was all right, if I remember.
Yeah, he was pretty good at it, but he was really good with those tires as well. With the
groove tires.
Tires, he was really good on them.
So, should we talk about the race then? What happened on Sunday?
Yeah, let's talk Sunday now. Quite eventful.
Every race since France has been eventful.
Yeah.
I would say every race apart from France has been
it's been
acceptable
all right.
to brilliant.
Yeah.
Even Spain wasn't shit this year.
I think Australia was...
Yeah.
Australia was just Australia though, wasn't it? There's rarely a good Australian Grand Prix. But
well, there's been plenty, it's just they were all in Adelaide.
That's a very good point. But do you know what the shit thing is about that? I love Melbourne Circuit. It looks great.
Yeah.
I love getting up early to watch it. Everything about it screams the beginning of the season to me.
Yeah, can't.
Because it's the first race.
Because it's the first race of the Formula 1 season is a bit of a giveaway why it says beginning of the season to you.
Yeah, logic.
But another action-packed race on Sunday. Wouldn't have liked to have been the stewards. They were kept busy.
I mean, you could say, they were kept busy, but I think they stopped themselves being busy quite a lot by just not paying any attention to certain things.
I think towards the end of the race, they said, fuck this, we're going for sandwiches.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, because...
Panini, surely, they were in Italy.
Yeah.
They went all the way back to England to get some.
Had they had to, carry on giving penalties or making decisions, then it was going to get to the point where they were going to affect something... point scoring or podium position, do you know what I mean? Or a race win.
I think someone had a fucking horse head in their bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Was it prancing?
Maybe. No, not then.
Yeah, they woke up with yellow bed sheets with a black horse head. Rightio. But yeah, there was... If we just get it out of the way now, the stuff that happened at the front, all fair and fine as far as I'm concerned.
It was Magnussen levels of elbows out.
Elbows out is fine. The black and white flag for the eventual race winner was the right decision. A penalty would have been too harsh.
I think,
and not doing anything would have been wrong as well.
I agree.
That's absolutely spot on.
I agree, but this is how it has to go forward.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. You've got to have a warning and then I quite like the system of like black and white flag.
But I don't. This is the issue I have with it.
Not the checkered flag, obviously, because that means you won.
I don't mind the weaving, the moving under braking. We've seen people do that before. I did thought even when Leclerc was doing it, I thought he was weaving around a bit, but it was acceptable when you're given. he knew that he had all Ferrari had and all Leclerc had was straight line speed. I think if Lewis Hamilton would have managed to have got past him at that point, he'd have disappeared off down the road.
I don't think that would have happened. I think Leclerc would have stuck with him and maybe got past him again because of that straight line speed.
Yeah, but I think
straight line speed plus the toe plus DRS.
Maybe, but I don't know whether he'd have been close enough by the time they got round the rest of the circuit. But the moving on the brake, and I find fine. What I do have a problem with is I think any other car but a red car would have had a penalty when he shoved Lewis off the track.
You say that, but then you look at the other red car. I mean, we're starting at the wrong end of the grid here.
Yeah, but you can't get away with that. People have used that like that thing. Oh, well, Sebastian Vettel got a penalty. Yeah, Sebastian Vettel got a penalty because he drove into the side of Lance Stroll. Even like the Ferrari can't get away with that at Monza. That if it had been less, maybe he wouldn't have got a penalty.
Well, if you watch the replay, he's barely stopped moving when he starts spinning his wheels to go forwards. He brakes hard when he gets towards the circuit and sees some cars coming.
Yeah,
he was not rejoining the track with any kind of care.
No, he just panicked. He didn't. It was what we're used to seeing from Vettel these days, isn't it?
The thing is, though, you said any other car would have got a penalty for doing that. The Sainz and Albon thing earlier on, they were banging wheels going around. I think it was the second Lesmo. Yeah. And there was no action taken against either of them.
Yeah, Leclerc shoved Lewis Hamilton off the track towards a wall. We're not talking about the Leclerc. Who was it? Sainz
and Albon.
Sainz and Albon. That's fine because Albon was taking the racing line. Sainz was taking the racing line. Albon probably shouldn't have had his car there. He wasn't like properly alongside him. And he was always going to get shoved wide. That was a rookie move, and it was Albon's choice to get out of the thing. Leclerc did not leave Lewis Hamilton a car's width, and that's what you're supposed to do. The other way around, Lewis Hamilton would have got a penalty.
I don't think so because I mean Leclerc was on the racing line and Hamilton wasn't in front of him, so that's
they were next to each other.
Leclerc was marginally in front. I think it just gave him the right way.
Yeah, no, he's marginally in front, but isn't it front wheel
overlapping back wheel?
Yeah. So Lewis's front wheels were just behind Leclerc's back wheels. He'd done everything to warrant having space, and he did. And the thing is, Leclerc knew he had to do that because if he'd have left him enough room, he'd have had the inside into the second part of the chicane, and he'd have been away down the road.
There'd have been contact between the two of them, but that's all speculation.
Yeah.
I think it was fair. Other people don't think it was.
Again, I'm with you. I'm with you in thinking that that's what racing should be, and they should be allowed to do that, but only if this is what happens going forward.
Yeah. Warnings and before penalties.
Yeah.
So we start at the back, work forward.
Yeah, well, we've got Haas at the back. DNF for K-Mag, hydraulic problems, and 16th for Grosjean.
Poor on both counts.
Another bad week for Haas.
Grosjean had a spin, did he?
Out of nowhere. Well, out of the Ascari.
Yeah.
Nobody behind him, nobody in front of him.
Had a spin and didn't recover for the whole race.
Yeah.
Wasn't that on the gravel that Vettel and Stroll had thrown up?
Yeah.
That might explain it then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
or potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lap after, wasn't it? That Stroll had.
It was coming out of Ascari, wasn't it? It was coming out of Ascari, whereas Vettel went on the way in.
Yeah, and he had a spin, and then he went and. Did he pit? And I don't think he was given a penalty for it. Was it? He went to the back of the field and didn't recover.
Yeah, I think he span and flat spotted his tyres.
I think he came straight in.
I think he did come straight in after that, and he was just nowhere for the rest of the race.
I think was he between the Williamses, Grosjean 16th, and Russell was 14th, I think, and Kubica 17th.
Be interesting to know what Grosjean had in the way of tyres when he had to come in. It's maybe they had to throw a used set on him or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he had a brand new set of hards. I think he ended up on those.
You see, that's good. A good reason for why he didn't recover through the rest of the race. Haas have been at fucking sea, haven't they, with tyres? So if they were sticking a tyre on, which they probably didn't want to fucking use.
Nobody could make the hards work for them, could they?
Well, no, but Haas have been particularly bad, haven't they?
Yeah. Haas can't get the heat into the harder tyres and the
can't get the heat, can't get them to last.
No, but the softer tyres, they heat up too quickly. They can't get a good working range of
the medium tyres were just right.
Well, no, they can get the heat into them and make them work for one lap, which is why we see Haas do all right in qualifying, and then on Sunday it was also took part in the event.
I would have loved to have heard some more Grosjean radio, because I think he's probably just as frustrated this week as he was last week in Spa. We just didn't hear what was being said. Probably because the FIA bleep machine would have gone into overdrive.
And there was too much going on.
Well, it's crazy for Grosjean when you think about it. Yeah, he went to Haas expecting to find himself in a Ferrari at some point. What's actually happened is he's going to Haas and he's going to be thrown out of Formula One.
Yeah,
I think so. I said this last year though, and it didn't happen.
I find it interesting. Hulkenberg hasn't signed. Yeah, that's still up in the air. And Hulkenberg was asked about what he's going to do, and he said, "These things are still getting finalised for next year."
Yeah, because
you might be at Alpha.
There was a story. Must be about 4 weeks ago. If, as part of Grosjean's deal with Haas, if they don't keep him on, part of the severance agreement that was written into the start of the deal was they have to find him another job. So if they can't announce that he's going and they're signing Hulk until they found Grosjean something else to do next year.
But isn't his contract up?
Yeah, but this is part. I think if they don't do that, they've got to pay him an absolute fortune, is what I've heard.
Yeah, but if his contract's up, surely that's null and void. You know, they're just not rehiring him.
It's something to do with a redundancy package or something that was written into his contract.
But that seems weird, doesn't it?
I think Giovinazzi's going to Haas and Hulkenberg will end up at Alpha.
Maybe. See, I'm sure there is something like that written into Grosjean's contract, but that to me sounds like something if they get rid of him early. Do you know what I mean? And so I struggle to wonder why that would be the case if they're just letting his contract expire.
The only time it would make sense is if they've got an option on him for an extra year.
Yeah.
And they can either choose to take that option or choose to find him another drive.
Yeah. I would be more inclined to believe that it's Hulkenberg that might have another option that isn't Haas. Because Haas must be, when you look at what Haas are doing this year, we hope they're going to recover for next year. But I mean, I'd go to Williams before Haas. If I was looking at drives, because Haas are all at sea
and Williams are on the upswing.
No, Williams know where they are. Haas haven't got a clue.
Yeah, and I can't see, unless the tyres change dramatically, are they going to work that out? You know, because we've said before, they buy the bits from Ferrari, Dallara make the chassis, they assemble it in the factory and then go, has anyone got the instruction book?
So next year they'll be known as Fight Milk Team IKEA.
Yeah, well, they won't be known as Rich Energy, will they?
No, because that has happened today. We might as well do that now.
May as well. Yeah,
they should get in touch with fucking Airfix. That would be hilarious if they were sponsored by Airfix.
Only whilst Grosjean's in the team.
Yeah.
But they Haas announced today that the partnership with Rich Energy is ending.
It's amicably
dissolved, amicably ending.
After a restructuring of Rich Energy.
Yes, as of now. So we will see the cars looking slightly different with no Rich Energy logos on in Singapore.
Rich Energy shortly tweeted out after that statement was done, "Fuck you lot. We never liked you anyway. I'm going around to burn Red Bull's house down."
No, that was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So what we're going to see? Lightning Volt Haas Energy?
No, Lightning Volt has now renamed itself to Rich Energy again.
Oh, right, brilliant.
And Stories took it back over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the Rich Energies.
Oh, no.
There are several.
Well, this is like the bloody Lotus thing all over again.
It is very much the Lotus of soft drinks.
Let's not get into this.
I thought you were going to say this is like when there was two different versions of Bucks Fizz on tour.
The hilarious thing as well is there's a Netflix.
It definitely wasn't like that.
There's a Netflix TV show. I think it's like it's like a zombie thing set in an office, and there's a there's this.
Can we not talk about office zombies? I start office work again next week.
There's an energy drink in this thing, and when people drink this energy drink, it makes them super violent and like try and kill each other. That energy drink is called Volt. It's whoever is in charge of like branding for Rich Volt Energy Staghead. They're not very good at original thoughts.
No,
parallel thinking is the best way I can get around this.
So are Haas going to strip the car back to being grey again with no sponsorship, or is it going to stay black and gold but just have a little Haas logo?
I think it'll be black and grey Haas colours again.
Yeah, because of the merch and everything they've done with the cars. I mean, they can't just like.
Yeah, I'd stick with black and gold.
It's just going to be black and gold, and it just won't say Rich Energy on it anymore.
I know. I think I'll go back to what it was last year because that's Haas racing colours, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you go on the media section on the Haas website and you download the logo, it's the grey, red, and black one.
Yeah, well, maybe they will go back to that, but I mean, it'd be a fairly swift livery design to get that ready for Singapore.
I think they'll get the same guy onto it that does Nico Rosberg's suits.
Yeah, I always thought. I will not have a word said against that. He looked cool as fuck on Sunday.
I thought there was something up with my telly, and I'd got one black and white patch in the middle of all this colour.
He looked super fly. He looked ace.
So Williams then.
Yeah.
Kubica in 17th, Russell in 14th, legitimately ahead of some cars on pace and battling with Vettel.
Yeah, that's worth pointing out. I just want to say,
in a broken Ferrari.
Kubica the only driver to get lapped twice. George Russell, we saw him getting overtaken by Sebastian Vettel with 2-3 laps to go.
About that.
Actually got back past Sebastian Vettel briefly.
I had a little bit of money on Russell to get in the top 6.
Did you?
My little bit of money would have got me £2,800.
That was quite a brave bet.
It was a brave bet. Some would say stupid, Dan.
But we missed, and I don't know if Vettel made an error or if Russell just managed
Vettel made an error.
Managed to do under DRS or something, but on the final lap, Vettel retook Russell, so Vettel's managed to stay ahead. But that's gonna. There are people watching George Russell, and we know who they are.
Yeah, not TV viewers, because we never get to see it.
No, they're mainly dressed in white shirts and wear black trousers with
stars on,
with a 3-point star on their shirt. That's going to go down well.
I suspect there's more than just those people watching him.
Yeah, I mean, I think
perhaps, but they are definitely watching him.
I think,
and we know why. Well, we think we know why.
Something must be going down, like for him behind the scenes, and the right things being said. Because he's so calm and happy in interviews. If he was stuck at the back of the grid, not knowing what his future's going to be, like hoping Williams are going to get something together for him for next year so he can see where he's doing, I don't believe any rookie driver, regardless of how much confidence they have, would be as like level-headed as he's
We've
been.
not heard the words "we'll keep pushing" from him, which is always a sign of
I think
we're shit and we know we are.
I think his media like savvy for that team is the only thing Williams has had going for it this year.
I think he's picked the team up, if I'm perfectly honest. They had 2 drivers who were so downbeat as Robert Kubica has been all this year.
And then you've got Robert
It would have soured the whole thing.
Accusing them of having a different car for George Russell.
Yeah,
which they do, otherwise they'd need bigger seats.
Yeah.
This is true.
I mean, they could actually race in the F1 2-seaters.
But that's not a Williams. And I think there's probably rules against that sort of thing.
But it's the old Minardi one, and that's been about 3 different cars as well. I think the actual chassis of the 2-seater is based on the old Arrows.
Yeah,
or is the old Arrows.
McLaren did a 2-seater, didn't they?
They were the first.
Yeah.
But I think Williams are definitely on an upswing, which has got to help George Russell's belief in them going forwards, and
and Russell's on an upswing calmness. As well. He's so, like Lee says, so calm and like so just confident in himself and level-headed that it doesn't matter that he's going out there and scoring 14th places. 14th place is an ace result. He finished ahead of.
That's a Williams win this year. I swear, with so many cars still there, and how far he was to.
Did he finish ahead of his teammate? Yes. Did he finish ahead of Romain Grosjean? Yes. Did he finish ahead of Kimi Räikkönen? Yes.
Yeah.
So
did he overtake a Ferrari, the car that won the race?
Yes.
Well, not the car, but the
But
team.
yeah, the team that won the race. Yes. We don't know how. Again, that might have been a slight error on the driver's part.
Yes, but at the start of the year, the Williams wouldn't have been capable of doing that.
No.
Someone made an error; they couldn't capitalise on it.
Yeah.
At the start of the year, the Williams was in danger of being overtaken by the medical car off the line.
Yes.
And some of the marshals, if they ran quick enough.
Low downforce flags.
If it only wasn't for these stupid flappy orange boiler suits, I would have passed George Russell into turn 1.
George Russell and Kubica sat on the grid behind a crane.
Bottas having to drive his own sponsor's vehicle. Yeah, I mean, Williams are improving at a rate.
We've had Haas as the first team on the podcast for. No, I don't think it was last week. I think last week was McLaren's, but
yes, it was.
But we have had Haas a few times now as the first team because their performance has been so poor.
It's hard to look back now. We've got a new podcast book and it's the first page thing as Jensen the cat threw up on the last one.
Yep.
It used to be. For this season, it used to be Williams, didn't it? And last season, Williams. And then before that, it was McLaren we were talking about first.
Yeah. And Sauber.
Manor. They're the teams at the back. But McLaren have made their way forward. Manor disappeared. Sauber became Alfa Romeo. Williams are starting to push forward.
Yeah.
I worry about Haas because I don't quite know what is going to keep them in the sport if they don't sort themselves out.
Concessions from the American owners.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean financially. I mean Gene Haas has got more than enough money to bankroll that team indefinitely.
Yes, but
he wouldn't.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
He's got that money because he's not stupid.
Yeah.
I could even understand it more if they had an American driver, so they had that like home interest. But I mean, Haas it's the American team on the grid, but who would know? It's not like there's anything like anchoring them to their home country.
I mean, maybe now they got rid of the British sponsor, we might get more American coming through. Let's see how that.
But who like is there an IndyCar driver that's actually American that could make the step up to Formula One? I don't.
The thing is,
and that would as well.
Yeah,
do you remember when we thought they were going to come into Formula One?
Joseph Newgarden,
and they were going to be Team America. We thought it was going to be the stars and the stripes, just plastered all over the car.
We were joking about calling them Team Fuck, weren't we?
Yeah, we were, yeah. And they didn't do that. They went quite understated and racing team. The Haas colours. They stuck with the Haas colours because I think the last time that anybody tried sticking an American flag on a Formula One car, like a proper, all over the car, was that USF1 GP, whatever it didn't become.
The P. Windsor team that never actually got to the grid.
Yeah, the early liveries of that were outlandish, sort of stars and stripes all over the car. And let's be honest, the American flag does look quite cool when it's dissected and put. As you look at the circuit of the Americas, that corner where they've got the stars and then the stripes going around the curve, it looks ace. But
I just think that sort of bombastic, like American way that they attack sports is sort of. It adds something to almost anything they take part in.
But an American team should be able to find sponsors from America for a global sport.
Yes, I'm still amazed that Coca-Cola isn't a sponsor, like a title sponsor for a team. I know there's a little logo on one of the cars.
The McLarens.
On the McLaren.
Yeah. McLaren.
And Monster's a Coca-Cola.
Yeah. But I still can't believe that there isn't a red branded Coca-Cola Formula One car.
Don't think there is an IndyCar either.
It used to be.
There isn't. I don't think there is at the moment, but they're in NASCAR.
Yeah. But
or even a Pepsi sponsored team.
Because but don't forget, I suppose the thing with maybe Coca-Cola is too big a brand for them to even be bothered advertising. Maybe it's that ubiquitous as being Coca-Cola.
It could be more damaging to.
Well, I think the way that Coca-Cola works is the individual local versions of the company decide what they sponsor and. The British one just doesn't have the kind of advertising budget to add a Formula One team into everything else that it does.
Yeah, but Coca-Cola is a global brand.
Yeah, but I mean the way that they work the sponsorships. I think I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the cars that are sponsoring NASCAR are the Coca-Cola sponsored cars are actually sponsored by local Coca-Cola bottling plants, local to where that driver or that team comes from. So maybe sort of doing international sponsorship isn't in the Coca-Cola remit.
I mean, I think there could be the amount of cost to advertise in Formula One. Do you know what? What you get back out of it now? Do you know what we
need to do? We need to have a chat at some point with the guy that runs the Formula Money website.
Yes,
who would shed a bit of light on this. So, how about we do that in say 3 weeks' time?
It's a good idea.
Why not?
Works for me.
I think we should.
Yeah,
it's just as well because it's already started.
I thought we were just summoning him.
No, we had a chat on Twitter last week, and he just had to sort out a night. Shall we move on to Toro Rosso, who we've got next?
Why not?
A DNF for Danny Kvyat.
Shame, because he was running well at one point.
He wasn't doing all that bad, and
he was up in 7th, was he? When he
Sixth,
came?
he was at one point.
He was running fairly high.
Yeah, because I remember saying that if the top drivers on soft tyres were all to stop, then at the same time, Danny Kvyat would likely be leading the race. But then I did a bit of maths and worked out now he'd probably be about 4 seconds behind. Even still, that would have been quite funny. Toro Rosso leading at Monza.
Well, we'll talk about Toro Rosso and thus Honda. Does anybody think that Monza was kind of a bad sign for Honda?
Well, they know they've not got the full-on straight-line speed of the Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yeah, no, but we went into this race, especially with what Lewis Hamilton was saying about how the Honda's applying some of its power and being like level with Mercedes.
Yeah.
And with Max Verstappen winning a couple of races as well, that I think we thought Honda was making bigger steps forward than it actually has done.
I think it was hard to tell just because of Verstappen having to start from the back, and we didn't,
and then going straight into the pits.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Toro Rosso's, you look at Albon as well. Look at how well Renault's did.
Gasly was only just outside the points.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's bad, but I still think it still shows that they've got a way to go to even match Renault, let alone challenge Ferrari and Mercedes.
What I suspect happened here is they knew that they didn't stand a chance of getting a good result.
Yeah.
So they've been very, very, very conservative with the engine.
Maybe.
Because Singapore is the next race,
and Red Bull are good.
I would have Max Verstappen for the win there.
Not just that, but take into account that Max Verstappen went into the pits very early in the race when he wasn't planning to. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we're not talking Red Bull, I know, but he still finished inside the points.
Oh, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It was grand, but I think the good results Red Bull have had, for me, Monza compounded, though it's Red Bull which have had those good results and not necessarily an ever-improving Honda.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. But I mean,
this wasn't a good race for Honda, but apart from one of their engines blowing up, it wasn't a particularly bad race.
Did it just shut down?
I think it blew up. There was smoke coming out when you went.
Yeah, there was lots of smoke coming out of Danny Kvyat.
He left the pits, didn't he? And then he was going around quite well. And then the following did he do a lap, or did it just coming out of the pits? It just stopped.
I think it was just after the pits.
Yeah, so he came out of the pits and then it just shut down on him.
Yeah.
I also struggle to think that with this being a power circuit, I think it's a better judge of like engines, obviously. But this race made me think that your Red Bull team next year, no matter what goes on, are just going to be the team that can win the odd race. And I don't believe they're going to be able to challenge for a championship anytime soon.
It's hard to tell. I mean, just don't know how far away the whole package is here. That's the thing.
No, but I think it's a really good Red Bull chassis, again like Renault, pulling around an engine that's not as good as Mercedes or Ferrari.
If they can win most of the races and just write off the extreme power circuits,
absolutely. But
then they could challenge. They might not win a championship, but they could be.
But I don't believe they're going to be able to win most of the races. I think they're going to be like this year, where they can win the races that Red Bull are good at.
like Mercedes of 2015, 2016 binned off circuits like Monaco and Singapore, didn't they? They're like, no point. There's no point in building a car that's going to work at Monaco and Singapore when we know we can build an ace car that'll be good everywhere else.
Yeah.
So, it's weighed up their strengths and went with them. But the Red Bull, I do expect to come back strongly in Singapore, and I don't think the Honda Power Unit, for example, will be such a talking point. Although,
I expected Red Bull to be better here, though. Going into this race, well, we're looking at what we'd seen, like before the summer break. I expected Red Bull to be closer to Ferrari, and Mercedes. They're further away than I thought they would be.
Yeah, and Toro Rosso, who we are actually supposed to be talking about.
Who we were meant to be talking about.
Their only race win is at Monza in the wet 11 years ago now. Yeah. But slowly making, much like Williams, slowly making steps in the right direction. They did fall back a bit after the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. Now they're slowly sort of making their way back up again. Pierre Gasly's used to the car again already quite. I'm not saying it's the car that he's driven, but Belgium was the first time he drove that Toro Rosso. But he's gotten into it. He's gotten straight back into the swing of things with Toro Rosso. Doesn't look terrible at Toro Rosso. Just doesn't appear to be able to do it at Red Bull.
Does he look worth keeping though when you measure him next to Kvyat?
Not.
I think it's too early to say at the moment. Let's see how he does on circuits with different characteristics.
But I think we're pretty convinced when you look at Albon that they made the right choice sending him back to Toro Rosso.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think the Red Bull was just one step beyond what he's capable of at the moment,
or just a car that doesn't suit him.
Yeah, like an adaptation issue of some. Yeah.
So, I mean, he was running in the points, but I think Lando passed him with about 4 laps to go,
something like
for
that.
10th place. Yeah. We'll do McLaren next, actually, because we've got Lando in 10th.
Lando in 10th, good performance given that he also, like Max, started from the back and just lucked out and did well with strategy. Really, he said at the beginning of the race, pre-race, that he thought that a couple of points might be possible. 1 point is okay, but I've got to be honest. I know that much like Red Bull, McLaren were expecting that Spa and Monza to be circuits where they weren't going to be strong at. They dropped the ball twice, and they shouldn't have. Yeah. Sainz retiring in both races when he's scoring so many points and is currently winning. I think he still is currently winning Formula 1.5.
Yeah, same with Lando in Spa. It's like bags of points going begging.
Yeah, that may have been a little bit more Lando's fault than McLaren's, but the
Spa didn't his car shut down?
He was told to back off a little bit
and didn't.
Right.
I mean, Sainz's retirement was definitely McLaren's fault. They didn't get the wheel on.
They didn't bolt his wheel on. Disappointing for McLaren, especially when you consider, Renault scored a shitload of points, and is that a genuine resurgence, or is that just Monza low downforce, low downforce car that with low downforce settings, just isn't very draggy at all?
I would say, since we've seen Renault's at the back really recently, I think it's far too soon to call this a resurgence unless they've completely changed the car over the last week or two.
That's what I mean. The fact that it's low downforce probably flatters the Renaults, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they can do anything more.
In 2 weeks' time in Singapore, if we suddenly see both Renaults in Q3 and looking at 7th and 8th, then hang on, things have changed.
Yeah.
Well, Paul di Resta called conspiracy, didn't he, on it?
On Renault?
Yeah, by saying that they brought updated engines for both McLaren and Renault, and whether McLaren have quite got all the bells and whistles that Renault can put on the car, on the engines. I know you're not supposed to do that anymore.
Well, you can't. It's illegal in terms of so if McLaren protested it, then there'd be investigations.
Yeah, unless it's something software-wise.
Yeah.
But it just seems weird, doesn't it, that all of a sudden Renault were that far ahead of McLaren on pace. It does seem odd.
again, I think it's more of a downforce thing than a power thing.
Yeah, Monza does sometimes throw up odd results.
It's a complete anomaly on the circuit, on the calendar, isn't it? So we'll know in Singapore if Renault have found something proper.
Yeah. But overall, McLaren didn't look bad.
No, not at all.
No. Not when you look at where McLaren have been.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel that McLaren dropped the ball a bit when it comes, especially the amount of points that Carlos Sainz could have picked up. I think he was running 7th when he retired.
Yeah.
And Sainz 7th, obviously. Lando was behind, and Lando probably would have made the points if Sainz had stayed in the race. But you could say the same for Kvyat as well.
Yeah.
So Lando may have finished 12th. However, that's the way it's fallen, and McLaren do pick up 1 point instead of the 6 that they could have picked up with Sainz finishing higher up.
What really depresses me when you see either McLaren or Renault getting the 5th, being best of the rest, or 6th and stuff like that, you think, yeah, it's good, everyone's moving forward, this is a good sign. And then you look at the side of the screen and realise they're still 34 seconds off the leaders coming into the race. Yeah. It's a different reality, isn't it? In Formula One?
There's still no one near the top 3.
Yeah.
Which is why we've got Formula 1.5.
Exactly, yeah. So an okay race for McLaren, but they really should have done better.
Yeah.
Alpha next. More points for Giovinazzi, 9th place.
Good home race.
Alpha looked good. I mean, Kimi got through to Q3. All right, wiped out. Then had to start from the pit lane because, what was it, new spec engine, or a different spec engine, and a new gearbox.
Yeah.
And then they go and put him on the wrong tyres.
I mean, I can understand the mistake that's been made.
I thought that they were allowed to do that.
Yeah, I did. I think this is something that's just this year. That this is a change that's happened this year.
We discussed it in the blog room, didn't we, at the time, and I understood it to be the way that the stewards interpreted it, that you have to still start the race on, even if you start from the pit lane, tyres that you got through to Q3 on, or similar mileage.
Yeah, I always took it for granted
equivalence.
That if you start from pit lane, you've broke parc fermé.
Yeah.
So you can do what you want to the car. You can alter it and change it and stuff.
But yeah, starting him on, I think he was meant to be starting on softs, and they started him on mediums. And I mean, a 10-second stop and go penalty for that. That's a bit on the harsh side.
It is, yeah. I mean,
it's the harshest penalty you can get before disqualification.
Yeah. I the only thing I can think of with that is I can't see the situation where you could gain a massive super advantage from starting in the pit lane with the wrong tyre on. That warrants a stop-go penalty. Do you know what I mean? No one. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you are and what position you are on the grid. You've got. I suppose it would matter. You could do it in last place, but in last place you can put whatever tyres on you want anyway, can't you? Because you're outside the top 10.
Yeah.
So there's no situation, say, that someone that qualified 10th would go, I know what we'll do, lads. Let's start me from the pit lane and put the hards on. It's no one's going to do it to gain an advantage.
No, but at the same time, if you've got 10 drivers that do make it through to Q3, and then say 3 of them decide to start from the pit lane on whatever tyres they want, does that then disadvantage the 7 drivers that got through to Q3 and decided to run because they started on the tyres that they had using Q2, and they're the only ones that have to.
I don't think so.
To have 10 drivers on the grid that got through to Q3, you have to.
You're not going to choose to take the at least 10 place grid drop.
No.
In order to put different tyres on.
It's not just that. It's not just to put different tyres on. It's to, as Lee was saying before, to break parc fermé rules.
But that stuff all stands. You can still alter the car and change the engine.
Yeah, it's just you got to start on the right tyres.
It's just the tyres. But I mean, the thing is that this is a new rule that's been implemented. I can never think of anyone starting from the pit lane to do an advantage before this rule became a thing.
No, but do you remember, was it Vettel in Abu Dhabi a few years ago when he was disqualified from qualifying for not having enough fuel in the car?
Yeah.
Red Bull superset that car up for, and it was last race of the season anyway, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, but that
But
Red Bull was
superset
a
that car.
fucking rocket ship.
Yeah, it was equivalent to Mercedes today, but they set that car up to just fly for the whole race.
Yeah.
And it did, and he got on the podium.
Yeah, well, we thought
you
at that point that he might win the race from last, be the first person to win a race from last.
Yeah, exactly. When you could see that playing out maybe a bit more often if they allowed this. That's why the rule is in place.
I think it's big. You'd prefer to start in the top 10. You know what I mean? If you can start last and finish third, if you start in the top 10, you're probably going to win the race with that pace.
I mean, it was, even if they didn't change the engine, it would have still started 15th because he wrote the gearbox off on Saturday.
Yeah, it was just a shame. It was a shame for Kimi.
But good performance for Giovinazzi, second points finish of the season. Yeah, is he doing enough?
Not quite. I saw somebody on a Facebook chat thread saying that Sebastian's had enough of Ferrari. He's going to retire for definite, and he's going to be replaced by Giovinazzi. And I was like, hang on a second. I was like, Ferrari.
Was this on ESPN?
It might. I don't think it was. No. Wait, my brain hurts. Giovinazzi. Like, surely they'd go for the other Alpha driver before they went for Giovinazzi.
This would be like when they brought in Luca Badoa to fill in for Massa for those two races where he finished last.
Well, he was supposed to be for the rest of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Badoa, and then Badoa was awful. In fact, it wouldn't have been so bad if Badoa was awful.
He was below awful.
Yeah. It's terrible. But I think it's really weird sometimes with people commenting on Formula One things, because I know I say things sometimes, or you say things sometimes that people disagree with, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to opinion. But some people comment about things, I'm almost convinced they've never seen a race. Never ever seen a race. Anyone that had watched Formula One this year couldn't come up with Giovinazzi equals Ferrari drive so far.
No.
Like, I don't understand how that happens. Well, unless it was his mum.
Somebody's done a bit of Googling and seen that Giovinazzi is a Ferrari youth driver.
And he's Italian.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy.
I could possibly see him drive the Ferrari after the season's finished in Abu Dhabi.
Road car.
Home.
Well, apparently Karun Chandhok had his dad in the car for the hot lap this weekend.
Giovinazzi's dad?
Yes, and halfway round the circuit, he asked Giovinazzi's dad whether Giovinazzi was getting re-signed again, to which his dad apparently nervously said, yes! But that's led to him saying that on Sky Media, and then Alfa Romeo coming out and say, no, there's no deals in place whatsoever. So who knows? I would say he's probably not doing enough to keep his seat for next year.
Which is why I think he's off to Haas and Hülkenberg's off to Alfa.
Do you think he's employable? Do you think would you take him on?
Giovinazzi?
Yeah.
I don't think he's terrible. I just think he's a slow starter. He's taken a while to get used to Formula One, which is...
Yeah, I don't think he's done enough to be desirable to other teams.
Yeah, no, I don't, because there seems to be... You're probably better off getting a different GP2 driver, or a Formula 2 driver and giving them a chance, or if a Hülkenberg's going begging, that sort of situation.
Or a Mick Schumacher suddenly wins F2.
I would not find it. I would not be amazed to see Mick Schumacher in an Alfa.
Just don't think we'll see Mick Schumacher in F1 next season. He's just not. He's
not good enough in F2.
Not doing it in F2.
Don't know. I mean,
he's going to get to Formula One.
Oh, it's guaranteed he'll get to Formula One one day, but it won't be next year.
It shouldn't be next year because he's not ready.
I think if he does end up in there next year, it'll be one and done, because it will just destroy his career.
He won't get one season. You won't get one season out of Mick Schumacher. He'll get at least 2 seasons to try to do himself. No matter what he does in his first season, he could have a Lance Stroll type first year in Formula One. He's still going to get another year. Stroll is still in Formula One.
Yeah, his dad bought a team.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think part of me wonders whether he is a upper mid-grid GP2 driver or a Formula 2 driver. I wish I'd stop saying that. I don't know whether do you think it's better him staying in Formula 2 or going to Alpha where he's going to be properly protected with a teammate that has been inside the Ferrari camp, which is hopefully going to be your future home? For me, that seems like the best position to be in.
I don't know. He did 2 years in F3.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, and I'm sure he will probably stay in Formula 2. That's probably the way it's going to happen. But I don't know whether that's the best thing. Usually, it's when we say someone's come to Formula 1 too early, it's because they're in Formula 1 and immediately thrown over the coals to try and keep their seat. If he comes into Formula 1 again with Alpha, which is going to look after him a bit, I think that might be the best place for him to be to try and.
He'll be beside Kimi, who doesn't play any kind of political games.
Also, there's a slight for the romantic historians out there. There's a slight connection as well, given that Michael drove Sauber sports cars before becoming
when Mercedes used to own him.
Yeah, when Mercedes owned him, before Ferrari owned him, before Mercedes owned him again. Yeah, he used to drive Sauber sports cars before he made it to Formula 1. So Sauber and Michael Schumacher had a working relationship before Formula 1 was a thing for Sauber and for Michael Schumacher.
So in that case, we'll probably see him in the Sauber Junior team in F2 next season and then move up.
Maybe, or Alfa Romeo, which is, as Peter Sauber said, still Sauber. Just at least looks after him a bit and just gives him that, maybe just as a reserve driver role, perhaps. Yeah. Just
I think we'll see him on quite a few Friday mornings next year.
I also don't know whether I don't know whether you can make somebody that won't adapt to Formula 1 adapt by giving them an extra year in GP2, in F2. Look at Jolyon Palmer, for instance, yeah?
Yeah.
He's
4 years in GP2.
4 years, won the GP2 championship, came to Formula 1, didn't work out for him. Stoffel Van Dorn, on the other hand, ripped GP2 apart.
In 2 years, yeah.
In 2 years. He did a year in Super Formula as well, didn't he? But
after GP2, yeah.
Came to Formula 1. Formula 1 did not work out for him. So there's nothing saying that making a driver do extra years in lower formula can guarantee them being good in Formula 1. I think sometimes, look at Mick Schumacher, not Mick Schumacher, look at Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen didn't do GP2, he went straight from European Formula 3. Came in and he's like now one of the top drivers in Formula 1. Sometimes I think
after 5 seasons.
Yeah, but absolutely.
And look at the mistakes he made when he was younger.
Yes, but in the Toro Rosso, he was clearly a future star.
Yeah. But once again, coming into Formula 1 like he did, where Toro Rosso and the Red Bull program clearly had a lot of faith in him because he wasn't part of the Red Bull program. They took him in. It would be a similar situation to what Alfa Romeo would do with Michael Schumacher, with Mick Schumacher, bringing him in, looking after him, coddling him, and trying to turn him into a Formula 1 driver.
But I think the difference with Verstappen is Verstappen was clearly hugely talented.
Yes.
In European F3, whereas Schumacher is
you could argue
in the middle of the grid.
But you could argue that when Schumacher was in Formula 3, that he was just as impressive as Max Verstappen was by winning the championship through the second half of the season.
Yeah,
but he's not carried that on into F2.
No, but I don't think being good in F2 doesn't guarantee you being a good Formula 1 driver. So I don't see why being average in F2 would suggest you would be a bad Formula 1 driver.
It's a pretty good indicator.
It is. Well, it was a pretty good indicator. I mean, look at.
I think George Russell and Lando Norris would argue otherwise.
But we've got the top 3 of last year's F2 grid on the F1 grid this year, and none of them are really doing crap.
No.
Yeah, but you could argue. I mean, Lando had a better year than Mick Schumacher in his F2 because he had more podiums, but only won one race. Remember, McLaren took a punt with Lando Norris. He didn't do what George Russell did.
He only won one
podiums.
race, and he didn't have the consistency, but he was a racer, and you could see that.
Absolutely. But
And you got Mick Schumacher, who's won one F2 race, and he's finished like 18th in most of the other races that he's had.
Eighth is his position, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's always in the top 10, or usually in the top 10, but like 8th is his favourite.
He's got to finish in 8th on Sunday.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the Italian Grand Prix?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think move on to Racing Point,
Yes.
who are next up on the list. Lance Stroll, 12th.
Future world champion. The internet keeps telling me this after his points finish. Future world champion. I don't believe it.
Did Stroll get points?
No, he finished 12th.
Did he? I thought he was in the points. I thought he got
No.
Oh, he was raced in the points before he got took out.
He was racing in
wasn't
the points when Vettel took him
Yeah.
out. No, it was Perez that finished in the points, 7th.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll, for the first time, out-qualified Perez this year because Perez broke down in Q1.
Doesn't count.
Which leaves George Russell as the only driver on the grid that's out-qualified his teammate in every race.
So he was did he get 10th to get himself into Q3? Stroll, was he 10th?
9th, I think.
Was he 9th?
Yeah.
See, he's qualified in the top, like to Q3 last 2 years as well.
He's been on the front row at Monza before.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like, you take the corners out of Formula 1 circuits and he's really good.
We could take the boy out of North America.
Don't forget, his best qualifying performance was at Monza in the wet.
Yeah, as I say, front row. He was alongside Lewis Hamilton for that 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
So, you know...
In a Williams.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the same Williams it is now. But fair play
It was
to
still
Lance.
a rubbish Williams.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. Fair play to Lance Stroll, you know. Give him some straights and some hard braking zones.
Yeah.
He's right there.
It is hilarious, though, isn't it, that he keeps doing just enough to make you think maybe there's a driver there.
Yeah.
But I know he's going to be shit for the rest of the season.
Do you think he spent his youth driving, like, you know, those like oval kiddies kart tracks where it's just like nail it down the straight, brake into the hairpin, nail it down the straight, brake into the hairpin, and his dad went, he's pretty good at that. And he's just carried that speciality all the way through into his Formula 1 career.
Yeah.
But, no, fair play to Lance Stroll. He did well. He did not deserve to get taken out by Vettel. He did as much as he could to avoid that, and still didn't avoid it.
Then he did exactly the same thing to Daniel Kvyat, if we're fair.
Yeah.
Because I did think it was...
I think it was Gasly, wasn't it?
It was Gasly.
Was it Gasly? I did think it was hilarious that he
just came back on the track like an idiot. And
so
then I'm
did you!
Yeah.
He actually said that he deserved to get the same penalty that Vettel did for what he did. And I do think
that was very Canadian of him to say so.
Do think they were slightly different because I think Vettel's was properly dangerous and not looking.
I also think that there's probably a very different mindset for Lance Stroll coming out of that corner than there was going in.
Yeah, because when Vettel hit him, Vettel was wearing clean pants. When Lance Stroll pulled out and nearly took Gasly out, he wasn't wearing clean pants.
I mean, that could have been such a bad accident.
5-second wash and go penalty.
Yeah. But that could have been such a bad accident if Vettel gone a little bit quicker and he'd just creamed into the side of him.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was...
or even worse, if Vettel had got moving a bit sooner and Stroll had creamed into the side of Vettel.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean.
If we're talking about the drivers coming through from the back who had a really good race, we talk about Verstappen coming through, we will do when we talk about Red Bull in a minute. We've already mentioned it. Talk about Norris coming through from the back as well. The driver who did the best out of everyone coming through from the back was Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
Well, where was it he started?
18th. It was ahead of
just ahead of Verstappen.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or 18th or 17th. So Perez, Norris, and Verstappen were the last three drivers to start on the grid.
Yeah, because Perez got hit with grid penalties because they had to change practically everything that makes the car go after it died. Another Mercedes engine failure.
It's been hidden a bit, hasn't it, over the last couple of races since it's happened, but you can still see that those updates that they brought to the Racing Point have turned it back into that really solid mid-grid car.
The September Force India.
Yeah.
Indian summer.
Yeah.
Nice. Like it.
That's
But
tonight.
No, but
I'm
Perez.
done now. I'm going home.
Perez did a great job getting up to 7th.
Yeah.
Do you remember Monza going back about 8 years ago now, where he nearly caught Hamilton just by looking after his tyres when he was driving for Sauber, and could have won the race there in that year where he nearly won 2 races and then didn't. It was a good performance from Perez. He looked after everything in the right way, but somehow managed to keep his pace up. Not completely anonymous, fairly anonymous. Didn't see him doing much on circuit, but just a really solid, as you were just saying about the car, a really solid mid-grid performance from Sergio Perez. Great to see him do that, and unfortunate for Stroll.
Yeah, I mean, doing a race with, as Kimmy put it in Belgium, half a floor missing.
Yeah.
Certainly won't help around there. I think we're now starting to see good things coming out of Racing Point, and with a removal of bad luck, then I think we're going to see them looking towards the best of the rest places.
I hope so. Yeah, they should be. They should be up there with Renault and McLaren. Really, from what we're used to seeing from them. So I hope so.
Right, Red Bull next. Albon in 6th and Verstappen in 8th. Where do we go with this one? I mean, Verstappen started 19th and last on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
And started behind Perez, finished just behind Perez.
Yeah.
So, but that was
with one extra pit stop to put a new nose on the car.
Yeah. And, all that stuff that happened early on, and he did finish right on Perez's tail.
Yeah.
So without that, Max probably would have been up with the Renaults.
Yeah.
Probably.
Albon picked himself up a 5-second penalty as well.
He did, yeah.
So did he serve that in the pit stops?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Because I was a bit confused that coming the end of the race, because even all the way through the race when I was looking at Albon, I thought, oh well, you're there, but you're going to get 5 seconds added on. I thought,
but no, he did that at his stop.
Yeah, I tell you what, we kind
of missed him doing it. It was Sean that pointed it out to us while we were doing the blog.
I'm really, really looking forward to a incident-free weekend where we can see where Albon is up against Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I think Singapore might be an interesting one.
Yeah.
I mean, they both now got the power units that's going to get them that are meant to be getting them through to the end of the season.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what Honda have said. Whether we believe it or not, I don't
absolutely
know.
not. I'll be surprised if they use if they
they'll change it again, USA or something like that.
I'll be surprised
Mexico.
if they get both the cars through fucking Singapore.
They'll probably win in Mexico. So,
well, they're not going to change it in Japan. What's the race before Japan?
Russia.
Nah. Too soon.
Yeah,
but they might put another one into the pool in Russia. Take the penalties there.
maybe.
Yeah.
Though Verstappen and Russia didn't he win there?
Yeah, I think
2016.
There before.
Did he? 2016. Maybe. I don't remember Verstappen winning in Russia. Maybe he did.
It might not even be like a
no, that was the last race before he went to Red Bull, wasn't it?
It was running into the back of Vettel that got Kvyat demoted.
That was 2015.
I think McLaren Hondas have took new engines at Suzuka before, because there was the upgrade came for Suzuka.
McLaren Hondas took new engines at every race.
Yeah, but what I mean about them like not trying to get a, I'm sure.
Yeah, but now Honda are more competitive. It might be that they don't want to have the grid penalties in Suzuka.
They might have the choice, if we're perfectly honest.
Yeah.
We might be spitball like nothing.
If something goes foom, it goes foom.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I mean, it was a good recovery drive from Verstappen.
Yeah, it was very good, given, is A, the fact that he started at the back, B, his problems, early on in the race, to come back and finish 8th, only a few seconds behind your teammate.
I mean, at one point during the second virtual safety car, I think it was like the first virtual safety car, sorry, it was about 1 minute 22 behind.
Yeah, he was 40 seconds, wasn't he, behind Grosjean, who was 20 seconds behind Kubica or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I really enjoy. I know. Shortly after into the Lesmos, it went a bit wrong for Albon, but I really enjoyed his overtake on Sainz before that, going into the hairpin, where there was like just enough room for a Formula One car.
Yeah,
I thought it was. But we've seen Albon now throw a few good overtakes at people.
He's confident.
Yeah, I think there's half a chance that he's actually brilliant. Like, as in not not just, he'll be a good number 2 for Max Verstappen. I think there's a half a chance that he might actually be a bit of an issue for Max Verstappen once he gets
that would be fun to see, and I hope you're right.
Yeah, because there's just something about him. I think there's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed it last year in F2. It was reliability that was the main issue that he had.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had the most clutch failures at the start of the race, because obviously at the start of the season when the new F2 car came in and nobody could...
Yeah, they made the clutches out of crepe paper in the dreams of children.
Yeah, nobody could figure out how to actually get it off the line.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to get him more than anyone else, although the spin that he had on the way to the grid in one of the races was a little bit dodgy.
Him and Norris, actually, wasn't it? Was Norris had dodgy clutch
He had quite
as well.
a few, yeah. But no, there is something good about Albon. I do agree that Helmut Marko made the right decision to give him a chance, and it's proving to be a decent enough audition for next year.
Yeah,
It all depends if suddenly Vettel's available.
I wouldn't put that past.
I wouldn't
anyone.
take him.
I don't
Albon
know.
or
Vettel.
I feel bad about this because I really like Albon and I want him to do really well and I want him to get the drive for next year. But on the other hand, I keep thinking about Vettel. I'm not willing to believe that a 4-time world champion is just shite all of a sudden. And I would really love him to get the opportunity to put his legacy back on course.
Yeah.
And prove that the problem's Ferrari and not him.
Yeah,
However,
I've thought for a while he's being underrated at the moment.
There's another driver that's kind of proving that the problem isn't Ferrari.
That's the
Yes,
issue.
but he is a Ferrari driver.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the internal workings of that are like. I mean, Ted Kravitz said, this was before the summer break, I think, that the whole way Ferrari works is just not how Vettel's used to it. Teamwork and even the way they sort of the Red Bull are more of like a data-driven McLaren-esque type operation, and Ferrari's just a completely different way of working.
Yeah.
Because he's in his 5th season, he should be able to work it out by now.
I don't think you can sometimes. I mean, you look at MotoGP is a fucking great example with this because it's Ducati. Some people can't drive Ducatis.
Valentino Rossi being one of them.
Yeah. You stick, then all of a sudden, like Dovizioso finds himself on an Ducati,
Wins races.
and he wins races. You know, it's sometimes things don't work for people, and I would like to see Vettel go somewhere else. I'd hate to see him retire because I think it would be the same as Michael Schumacher when he retired, and Schumacher should have retired when he came back. That should have been when he retired. He should have never gone away. He should have stuck it out and tried to sort the problems that they had out. Probably might have gone to do it to a different team. Might have won another world championship with Ferrari. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
But I think Vettel needs to leave Ferrari. I think that's nailed on. If he stays with Ferrari next year, I don't see anything getting better for him. I think it'll just get worse.
I agree, and I think he'll have more and more clashes with Leclerc.
Yeah.
And I do think Leclerc plays head games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's far too nice to not be doing it.
You just don't trust anyone.
I trust Jensen.
But we've skipped a team.
We have Renault.
Brilliant performance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant Ricciardo performance.
Brilliant Hulkenberg performance.
I think Hulkenberg will be upset with himself.
Finished 5th. We all know Hulkenberg.
12 seconds off his teammate.
We all know Hulkenberg's always delighted with 5th.
Yeah, but I think he got done by Daniel Ricciardo. Done by him.
But this is Hulkenberg who is his head's down. He knows he's not at that team next year. He's not driving to the best visibility.
It's Hulkenberg that needs to get a drive for next year.
I think he may already have at least one offer on the table. I mean, you say Renault may have flattered to deceive with it being a low downforce one. Don't forget, before the penalties, Danny Rick actually qualified 6th in Belgium.
Yeah, but it's a similar down. I say low downforce. Low downforce, sector 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Sector 2 is where you need a bit of downforce. So, it's much like the Ferrari with its straight line speed in Spa and Monza. Straight line speed is all well and good until you get to Monaco.
Yeah.
But I think Renault are starting to look improved.
I hope so.
They couldn't have got much worse, otherwise they'd have been battling Williams.
Yeah, but
We can't say that everyone's pushing forward, though, can we? Because it's not the case.
Well, Haas are going backwards.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be the case. In the same way as I don't expect Ferrari to challenge Mercedes and Red Bull as much as they have for the last 2 races. I think we've hit 2 Ferrari tracks, and I don't think that's going to be the case when we get to Singapore. It's not Ferrari moving towards. It's not Ferrari moving forwards. Formula One has come to Ferrari, and I think it might be the fact that Formula One's come to Renault as well.
Yeah.
I think this has been one of the results that they needed just to give a bit of positivity in the team.
Oh, absolutely.
Even Cyril Abiteboul was upbeat this week, and he has just been faced like thunder all season.
Oh, it's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's good for Ricciardo as well, because I can't imagine the season he's had inside his own head. Everything must have gone through his head, whether he should have stayed at Red Bull, whether he should have gone somewhere else, whether he should have gone to McLaren even, from where Renault's been, I think.
Oh, bollocks to all this, I'm off to drive some supercars.
Yeah, well, I think Renault maybe overpromised to Ricciardo. He went with a big paycheck and maybe got a big paycheck and a few tall tales about where they were going to be this year.
Well, Renault are very bullish outwardly at the start of this season, and I don't doubt for a second that they sold him the package that they're going to be complete and up there, and then it got to Australia and...
Last two seasons, we've expected Renault to be up there with Red Bull for the last 2 years, and it's just not really materialised.
Last year they were the one behind.
Yeah.
This year they're fighting to try to get to be the one behind.
Yeah. So,
but at least at this race they beat the McLarens.
They were. Yeah, Renault were the best Renault team.
Yeah.
Renault were the best of the rest, by far.
Mm-hmm.
So whether they can carry it on into other tracks remains to be seen. Mm-hmm. But coming off 2 solid performances.
If they can, if this is the new norm for Renault, McLaren need to sort themselves out, otherwise they're going to lose that 4th.
That's what I was saying earlier about McLaren. Yeah, hopefully we'll see McLaren resurgent not resurgent, but you know what I mean, back on their normal form in Singapore.
Yeah.
As long as they're not claiming they've got the best chassis on the grid.
No.
Right, we'll do the top 2 teams together. We'll do the podium together, but we'll do the Vettel section.
Sorry, just quickly before we keep going on there, because I don't think we're going to touch it later on, and we talked about Renault and McLaren just then.
He's showing us on the doll where we're not touching it.
What do we think about Alonso turning up in McLaren gear all of a sudden out of fucking nowhere?
McLaren announced on Thursday that he was going to be there, which came as a surprise.
That's out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. They only announced on Thursday he was going to be there.
I think Andrew Benson said that he knew last weekend Alonso would be there.
This is Alonso who cut all ties with McLaren.
Yeah, after Indy.
And then all of a sudden is a McLaren ambassador. And the fuck did that happen? Because I missed that.
And spent the whole race on the pit wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was there on the grid walk with his pit wall headset.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even realise he was there until I sent you the picture I took off the telly, didn't I?
And I thought it was fake
Fernando, yeah.
There was a story. There was a story on the BBC website at the weekend about I think it was Andrew Benson that was actually interviewing him in the McLaren team motorhome. Mm-hmm. And then he started talking to somebody else. Alonso disappeared for a bit and then turned up and threw a Ferrari sugar packet on the table. Where did you get that? Where do you think?
What Alonso did?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
His old media person from McLaren is now the media person at Ferrari, apparently, and he was
just
going to say hello.
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, she was Fernando and then Jensen's media lady, and
I can't remember her name.
No, but she went to Ferrari. I've seen her in Ferrari gear with Sebastian Vettel.
Well, I think in an interview as well over the weekend, Alonso has also turned around and said that coming back in 2021 would be is an interesting opportunity to make a Formula One return.
But do you not hear what you said on the grid?
Yeah, I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah, don't miss it. I'm all right for now.
Yeah.
Not missing it yet.
Yeah.
Right. He said, yeah, I'm not missing Formula One, as he was stood on the grid at a Formula One race
For the first time since Bahrain?
Yeah. Also, see, I don't understand what working relationship McLaren and Fernando have. A little bit of me makes me, I just think Zach Brown might love him a bit. And likes him being around. Maybe they just get on well. Maybe he feels like maybe he just thinks Alonso is head and shoulders above every other driver on the grid, and basically whatever Fernando wants to do, he's quite happy to open the door for him. I don't believe it's an accident that Sebastian Vettel is having a terrible season. Fernando Alonso might come back to Formula One, and he comes back at Monza. I don't think any of those things aren't connected.
I think it's a bit too much into it at the moment, but we'll see.
If he was going to turn up to a race to discuss future Ferrari drives, I would imagine that race would be in Italy.
Let's see if he turns up in Singapore.
Yes.
I also think if he was going to discuss drives, it wouldn't happen at a Formula One race. It would happen on quiet phone calls and
maybe
meetings that people didn't see.
Maybe, but would it matter if you were wearing a different team's uniform? If he turned up in a Ferrari hat, yeah, I think you're probably right. But if he was there as like a guest and ambassador role for McLaren, but he happened to go and have a quick word with the Ferrari guys at the same time.
Mission Kimoa.
Look, top and bottom of it is right. So let's say Sebastian Vettel does leave Ferrari, and you want a Sebastian Vettel level driver to plug into that team.
You go to Alfa Romeo and hire Kimi Räikkönen.
You think?
Yeah.
We've been there.
And he did a great job.
He did
he did a great job in his last year.
He did it. Yeah, exactly. He did a better job in that car more recently than Sebastian Vettel's done a good job, and he did a better job in that. Well, not a better job. He did a good job in that car more recently than Fernando Alonso did.
If Kimi Räikkönen was still in that car, Vettel would still be ahead of him in the championship.
Yeah, Leclerc is better than Räikkönen. Was.
Yeah. So I don't think.
But if they want to have Leclerc as number one, you don't want to bring Alonso into that team, do you? Not
unless they're thinking Leclerc, he's getting a bit too big for his boots.
Yeah.
We need someone who can play head games.
Well, I think there's too many.
Ferrari's toxic enough as it is.
There's too many different parameters. I think.
I still think
if I was Ferrari, I wouldn't bring Alonso back while I've got Leclerc.
I think you're right, but it depends whether they want a world champion in the team or not.
Then they go and hire Kimi Räikkönen.
I don't think it counts. I know he's a world champion, but I don't think he's going to put the performances in that you want him to.
No, but he's a better number two for Charles Leclerc than Sebastian Vettel would be, and definitely than
But they
Fernando
weren't
Alonso
happy
would
with
be.
him as a number two for Sebastian Vettel. The only reason he got his last year is because Vettel wanted him as a teammate. They wanted rid of Kimi Räikkönen the year before that.
Yep, they probably did want rid of Kimi Räikkönen, but Sebastian Vettel's a worse number two than Kimi Räikkönen was. Sebastian Vettel finished 13th in Monza.
Oh, he's having a terrible year.
Sebastian Vettel finished, 4th at Belgium?
But we can't... You can't put because a driver's broken, you don't go, oh, well, he'll do just better than him. I think if you're Ferrari and everything's so tight, like we think it's going to be tight, and especially if Ferrari can get their act together going into next year, you want two drivers that can win a world championship.
I think they want a number one and a number two. and Vettel won't be number 2, and Leclerc's good enough to be number 1.
I don't think they want a number 1 and number 2 because that hasn't worked since Michael Schumacher for them.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I don't think that they'll change now.
And Fernando Alonso is better than all of the drivers that they've had since Michael Schumacher, and it didn't work having a number 1 driver there.
No.
Moving on.
Not meant to be convinced. So, we'll do the Vettel bit first, and then we'll look at the rest of the top 3.
Yeah.
You don't think that a 4-time world champion can suddenly become shit?
No.
I think he's switched off.
I think he has. I think he's checked out.
He's not become shit. He's just not bothering.
You're in good company in thinking that, because that's exactly what Ted Kravitz said on The Notebook.
Yeah.
Which I didn't actually say that.
I didn't see it. I left before it started. You'll test to.
Kravitz said Sebastian Vettel
Phoning it in
is a championship-winning machine, just not turning up to races to just win a race isn't motivating for him, and that I find that an interesting thought.
I mean, he's looking at having only his third full season without a win.
Is
it?
it?
Is it second? No, it'd be second. No.
2008 was his first full season, and he won a race. He won races in 2009, won races in 10.
It's like 300.
Didn't win any in 2014. So this will only
no
be
races in 2014. Won a couple in 2015 in his first year with Ferrari.
Well, he hasn't won a race for a year, has he?
Yeah.
It's a calendar year since he's won a race. Yeah.
But this will be only his second season without a win.
Well, he might win in Singapore yet. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it. I don't think Ferrari will win another race this year, for a start. And I certainly don't think if a Ferrari does win a race, I don't think it's going to be Sebastian Vettel. I thought he was going to turn up this weekend. I really did think he was going to... half on Saturday thought he was going to end up getting pole and win the race.
Tuesday news.
I think he maybe went home on Saturday.
I think you're probably right.
When he gave Leclerc the toe and Leclerc didn't return the favour.
Tuesday news. Jump cut tomorrow. The final jump cut that we can do before Paul gets a full-time job.
Vettel to Haas.
No, Vettel sabbatical.
Maybe.
Going to Prost it.
Yeah.
Or Hakkinen it.
Either or.
Alonso in Ferrari for Singapore.
No. Not immediately. He'll do to the end of the season. But I think... I'm surprised.
I don't think he can take a sabbatical because I don't think he's done enough to get a seat when he comes back. If he wants to come back.
I'm with you on that.
He needs to fix this immediately or as soon as he can.
The only way he can is to drive for a different team.
Mm-hmm.
And Prost had a shit Ferrari, and he said, "I've got a shit Ferrari." And then
So they sacked him.
then Ferrari went, "You can't say it's shit." And he went, "I just did." And they went, "Right, you're fired." And he went, "Fine, see you later then." And then signed for Williams.
Do you want more mindless speculation?
No.
Well, you're going to get it. In Leland, this works out in my head. Max Verstappen would have moved to Mercedes next year if he hadn't have won so many races and got so many points, which keeps him in for his contract. Yeah, he's agreed in principle to drive for Mercedes in 2021, which is why they've kept Valtteri Bottas on the books. Red Bull take Sebastian Vettel back next year, knowing that they won't have a Max Verstappen in the car come 2021.
I don't think that's implausible.
No,
I think it's a big risk taking on Vettel again.
But again, it's having those drivers that if everything works right, like let's say Vettel isn't broken, let's say it's all a Ferrari problem, and he's still the Sebastian Vettel that can win nearly every race in a season and smash a championship out. Drivers like him are few and far between. That's why I still think there's a chance for Alonso come back. the Formula One is full of Formula One drivers, but there's only ever
There's at least 20.
Yeah, but there's only ever 4 like elite Formula One drivers. And if Vettel still is, it actually still is an elite Formula One driver.
And I think even if he's broken, he's fixable by going home to Red Bull.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
He'll have the team he knows around him. And you can see how well he gets on with the guys at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Spends about as much time in the garage as he does in the Ferrari one.
And it can't be nice for them. You know, like when you've got the likes of Marco and Christian Horner, which worked so closely with Sebastian Vettel for so long, that know full well what he's capable of because he's done it for them. It can't be nice for them to see him going through what he's going through at Ferrari.
It's just the mistakes that he's been making.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going back into last year.
Yeah.
Germany, Italy.
Well, he's only had, what, is this his 4th year in Ferrari?
Fifth.
He's had one good year, would we say?
2015, wasn't it?
One decent year before, and then it got to Baku in 2016, and that's when
2017.
2017 was Baku.
I think it was 2017.
Yeah, I think 2015 and 2016, he had a crap car that was maybe even not capable of winning races.
He won races.
And he won races in it.
Yeah.
And he was happy, as he said at Monaco.
Yes. Do you think it's got to him not being able to win a world championship? And like he's been in Alonso's situation, it hasn't turned into like the Schumacher dream he wanted it to, and it's become the Alonso nightmare of Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, it took Schumacher 5 seasons to win his first championship with Ferrari.
Yeah,
that was the big deal that was getting made at the start of the season, and Ferrari just don't have the car capable of winning a championship this year.
And he's seen musical chairs in the Ferrari management teams. You know, every year there seems to have been a different team principal for Ferrari since fucking 1986.
And Schumacher might have taken 5 years to win his first championship with Ferrari.
He was winning races though before that.
He was nearly winning championships before that.
Yeah, well, and it's not like he didn't take people with him from Benetton either.
Schumacher joined Ferrari in 96. He won his 5th race for Ferrari in that wet Spanish Grand Prix. He was nowhere near the championship in 96. He just wasn't. It was between the 2 Williams drivers, Hill and Villeneuve. 97, he nearly took it off Villeneuve at the final race of the season and didn't because he tried to crash into him and got it wrong.
So, one season before he's a few points away from winning the championship.
98, he was very close to winning the title, and Mika Häkkinen took it off him at the last race. At 99, he probably would have been world champion, but he crashed and broke his leg at Silverstone.
Yeah,
Mika Häkkinen won the championship again.
Because Ferrari didn't want Eddie Irvine to win it.
Yeah, the Ferrari was better that year, but they somehow Ferrari'd it for Irvine. They Smedley'd it before.
He just happened to be a second and a half off Häkkinen for that one race.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nothing to see there. He had a couple too many Guinnesses.
So yeah, and then obviously 2000 was the start of the winning streak for Michael Schumacher, where he went on 5 seasons in a row then to win championships. So yeah, okay, so it could have been 94, 95, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We could have been a 9-time, 10-time world champion.
But the 5 years for Schumacher situation and the 5 years for Vettel are incredibly different.
Yeah. I mean, Vettel was a bit closer in one of the seasons. I think, was it 17 or was it earlier than that, where he was the main championship rival for most of the season? I think it was 2017, wasn't it? Bottas' first year in Mercedes.
17 and 18, it's both been plausible that he could have won the championship.
Well, 18 until after Monza.
Germany, yeah.
Would you agree with me that Max Verstappen in Red Bull feels more separate than any other Red Bull driver?
What do you mean by that?
He doesn't feel like it. I mean, obviously they like him being there and stuff like that, but he feels
like Max Verstappen rather than Red Bull driver Max Verstappen.
Yeah, whereas Sebastian Vettel was Red Bull driver Sebastian Vettel,
and even Mark Webber seemed like Red Bull driver Mark Webber.
And I don't mean that as a bad thing either, because he wants to win championships, and I think you've got to be a bit of a mercenary in that respect sometimes.
I think part of that is that Max brings his Orange Army to races.
Yeah,
which
probably
makes it look
No one else has done that.
more like Max than Red Bull.
But even the relationship he has with Horner and stuff like that, it doesn't seem as close knit as it was with Vettel, or like you say with Webber, or even Ricciardo, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, there isn't the sort of, I don't know,
fatherness about it. I
was going to call it a sort of light-hearted, I'm doing Red Bull things kind of thing about it.
Yeah.
He always seems awkward doing the Red Bull promo stuff that every other driver's been happier to do.
And he's also always on his own. When you get an interview with Max Verstappen, it's an interview with Max Verstappen. When Webber and Vettel were there, even though they didn't get on for a lot of the time, there was lots of Webber and Vettel interviews, or lots of Ricciardo and Vettel interviews. There's just something not quite the same there. I wonder whether
the stuff that he did earlier on this season with Gasly, it did seem a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Not to the levels of Button and Hamilton in the first season together at McLaren. Oh, we're best of mates, honest, awkward. Because that was terrible.
Yeah. But I just think there's something, and maybe that is something to do with him already showing interest in leaving the team.
I don't know. I think it's more a case of Jos Verstappen was always his own brand.
Yeah.
And I think Jos has managed Max's career, and I think that's where Max has got it from. Because it worked for Jos, who was a thoroughly average driver.
I think you're being very, very kind.
And Max wasn't part of the Red Bull program.
No, yeah, I know, all these things are correct, but
neither was Mark Webber.
No, but he was part of building the team from Red Bull, the team somewhere on the grid, to Red Bull, the world champions.
Yeah.
I think I'm onto something, because like I said, I just can't see Red Bull making that massive step forward they're going to have to make. Maybe they make it in 2021. Who the fuck knows? But if you can be sure about anything for even these regulations, is that regardless of who's fighting for world championships come 2021, I believe Mercedes will still be fighting for a world championship.
Yeah.
With just the infrastructure they've got. I mean, no team really. You can look back in history at like McLaren or Ferrari and things like that. No team has built the operation that Mercedes have. That they've reclassified what the elite level of Formula One has to be. It used to be McLaren, didn't it? That did that. I'd argue that Red Bull probably tipped it a level above what McLaren used to do. But the whole, we've seen the facilities and stuff like that they've got there. We saw what they're planning on building around the area.
Yeah.
It's no accident that they just seem to constantly have something working right. It's the car's on point. The pit stops are usually there. We realise when they make a mistake because it's so fucking rare.
Yeah.
But talking of making mistakes, Vettel was full of them.
Yeah.
See how I got it back to where we were before?
Well, no, we were on the same thing.
He's terrible.
He hasn't lost the ability. He's lost the desire to have the ability.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Whereas his young teammate is proving that, okay, it wasn't a perfect race from Charles Leclerc by any stretch of the imagination. But, if you've got that desire and the fire to keep going, then you can produce some pretty spectacular results in the car that, maybe isn't the best on the grid at the moment.
I think it did need to be the best on the grid. It just needed to be the fastest in a straight line.
Yeah, I think it was the best on the grid at Monza.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But
I don't think it was the best. I think the Mercedes was quicker, but it couldn't get past to be quicker.
But where the Ferrari was quicker was where it mattered, because you saw that
on
the straight.
Absolutely.
Every time when Hamilton or Bottas had DRS behind Leclerc, they were keeping up with him, not catching him.
Exactly.
And there was a couple of times when they were passing back markers that Leclerc had DRS.
I'd also argue,
and he was just disappearing off into the distance ahead of a Mercedes with an open wing.
It was only Hamilton that kept up with him. Bottas made
too many mistakes.
And the only time he got close to Leclerc was when he made a mistake, and when Leclerc's. I don't know if Leclerc's tyres were going off because he was on the hards, but I think they definitely lost like the pace of the hards at one point.
I think it was.
It should have lasted forever.
The last 3 laps, his tyres were starting to go off.
But I don't think they hadn't hit like the go off phase. They just lost that performance edge.
Yeah. I mean, Mercedes took a gamble by switching to the mediums when Ferrari went hard for Leclerc. That may have worked, but even the speed difference on the tyres, it just wasn't there for the straight line speed.
Slightly surprised they didn't split strategies.
That was bizarre.
Yeah, I tell you what, pie in the sky stuff though. If Leclerc's tyre lost that sort of performance edge that they had at the beginning of his stint, Bottas's overcut, which Hamilton said wouldn't work the first time, turned out to be the best strategy to have. What would have happened if they'd have done the same thing with Hamilton as they did with Bottas? So Hamilton's tyres were 5 laps younger, or 7 laps younger.
It was 7.
It's when Leclerc's tyres were starting to drop in performance.
It's hard to say because I think Leclerc had been slowed by the fact that he was defending against Hamilton.
Yeah,
which is why Bottas was catching them.
Yeah, because they were fighting and Bottas caught up
maybe
4 seconds in 3 or 4 laps.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah.
But when Bottas was released after Hamilton made that error breaking into turn 1.
He was still able to close up, but he wasn't able to get as close as Hamilton could.
And his argument was that it was the lack of downfalls following the Ferrari. Well, your teammate did the same problem,
and he was close following for 6-7 laps.
I mean,
but you don't know how the cars are set up. You don't know how Bottas's and Hamilton's cars are set up.
I mean, Hamilton was getting to within about 0.4. Bottas was about 0.8, 0.7.
Well, bloody Crofty, can I just stop him now? Every time I got on, he's closer this time. He's really close this time. He's not. He's no closer. He's exactly where he was this time.
That was annoying me as well.
Yeah, and we know that this gap is not big enough. Not small enough rather for it to be a fight into turn 1. And he got to turn 1 and go, and Leclerc defend. No, Leclerc doesn't defend. He doesn't have to. He's got enough straight line speed that he made it to turn 1 before Hamilton or Bottas.
I mean, it was one of those rare times that everybody in the blog room was actually agreeing with somebody local on Twitter. Hi, JP.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, see, the thing is as well, you got to remember, Lewis Hamilton's winning a world championship at the minute. He's 60 points ahead. There probably was like 1 lap or 2 laps there where he was close enough that if it would have been Lewis Hamilton 10 points behind Leclerc,
he would have lunged for
just fucking thrown one at him.
Or first race of the season.
Yeah. I can't remember who did he do it on. Lewis threw one up the inside of someone right at that hairpin when he was in McLaren. Was it against Alonso in the Ferrari? I can't remember who it was now, but I only remember this because they played the replay of it on Twitter over the weekend, and he was from miles back and just threw it down the inside. It was great. But I think testament to Lewis, to be perfectly honest, for the amount of pressure he could put on him.
Yeah.
When you looked at what Bottas did.
I got an article here from Autosports that Lewis Hamilton said he wouldn't have moved if he and Charles Leclerc would have collided if Lewis wasn't going for the championship.
Yeah, well, Toto Wolff said that if he believed Lewis was the reason they didn't have an accident.
Which is, Lewis backed out sort of very last second and had to take the escape road, but I mean, we already spoke about the penalties and the warnings and things. We did that at the beginning of the podcast, but
seems so long ago now.
Yeah, but it was.
It was a while.
But Charles Leclerc.
Has this all recorded this time, by the way?
Yeah, we're good.
Charles Leclerc, great drive. Bottas and Hamilton okay. Like damage limitation again. Like Hamilton loses his championship lead. It lessens by 2 points.
Yeah.
For the first time in a number of races. Even the disastrous German Grand Prix, he managed to extend his championship lead.
A disaster is exactly what Ferrari, Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton would have to have not to walk away with the championships this year.
They're probably due an engine blow up.
But even still,
he's got a race or two in hand, hasn't he?
But
60 points ahead.
Well, there's 62, I think it is, something like that.
What are they? 200 points ahead in the constructors.
Yeah.
Ferrari needs snookers.
Again, jumping on the Sky Sports, isn't this exciting bandwagon? Actually, no, it's not. Saying about, if Hamilton has 2 DNFs, it's like, if Hamilton has 2 DNFs and anyone finishes first in both races, Hamilton still has at least a 12-point lead. Yeah. So, he's got that in hand at the moment.
And even then, his closest rival is Valtteri Bottas.
Correct.
Well, we're at the point now where even if Valtteri Bottas wins every race, he can't take the championship.
No.
If Hamilton finishes second.
If Hamilton finishes set.
No, just about, I think. We're just about on the limit there, yeah. Depends on fastest lap points. They count for stuff now as well.
Yeah. There's still those extra 8 bonus points.
Yeah, there is. That might just about tip it, so it could still be possible. But at the moment, we're looking at Hamilton, Japan, America, maybe for taking the title.
I wonder if he'll hang it on and make it a hat-trick of titles in Mexico.
Is it Japan and then Mexico? Japan and then...
just check what year this mug is. This year, so it's Japan, Mexico, USA.
So yeah, Japan or Mexico. He's looking at taking the title, I think, at the moment.
I'd also argue that this Lewis Hamilton we're seeing this year is the most phoning it in Lewis Hamilton we've seen in Mercedes.
He's been on it early season, and he's built this gap, and he doesn't have to be on it.
I think the thing was, I don't even think he's been on it. The closest he's had to being on it is the last couple of races.
I don't feel we're seeing a phoning it in Hamilton, because that suggests that he's...
No, but I don't think he needs to push. I don't think he feels challenged at the minute.
I think we're seeing a relaxed and strong Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
so
I don't mean this
we're
as a
absolutely
negative.
not seeing him push, because he could take it up another couple of gears if he needed to.
But this is what I mean. You're going to have someone that's going to... you're going to have a team that's going to challenge Mercedes, and then you're going to have a driver which is capable of challenging a better Lewis Hamilton than what we're seeing. Because there's more there. And even qualifying, we haven't seen that like crazy blistering, like 1 lap pace that Hamilton usually has. He doesn't even seem particularly annoyed when he's like second or third on the grid.
He's prosting it.
Yeah.
I think the Mercedes is built differently this year. I think in previous years it's been built to qualify and then win a race from the front.
Well, Hamilton's actually said, hasn't he, that he spends more time setting a car up towards the race now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons they think Bottas loses time to Lewis during the race, is because to try and keep up with Lewis, he's setting his car up for Saturday more than Sunday, which seems to be a bad move.
Well, he's out-qualified Lewis a few times, but race pace is where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't win a race on Saturday, but you can go a long way to losing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Heroes and villains, then. Villain, TV direction.
Yes.
Yet
Absolutely,
again.
Cutting away from action to see reaction. Stop it.
Ridiculous qualifying.
Also,
ridiculous attitudes to qualifying.
Sausage curbs.
Yes, that could have been a hell of a lot worse on Saturday morning with Alex Peroni.
That man should be in all rights dead right now. That was a crazy accident.
Halo did its job.
Yeah, absolutely. He landed on his head. He landed on his head on the corner of the tyres, essentially. There.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't follow the Formula 3, this is Alex Peroni's crash, where he was a good 12 foot in the air.
I would say about that.
That crash was whenever you're playing like on the Xbox or PlayStation and something ridiculous happens and the physics in the game breaks and you go, that would never happen in real life. He had a
One of
computer
those,
game crash.
yeah.
Scott Dixon's 2017 Indy 500 crash was very, very similar.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And, of course, Sophia Flourish's crash at Macau.
Yes.
Mark Webber in Valencia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mark Webber at Le Mans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are talking those levels of airborne.
Anthony Davidson at Le Mans.
Yeah. When we accidentally turned Formula One cars into ramps that year.
Kamui Kobayashi at every circuit.
Any heroes?
He wasn't called Kobayashi because he was bashing results out, was he?
Heroes, well, the Halo for Alex Perona.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rain for staying away, I suppose.
No, but
The stewards for not ruining the race.
Never thought we'd hear that said this season.
Yeah.
If you're going to criticise them, you've got to give them praise as well.
That is true. That is true.
I'm with Dan on that one, yeah. Stewards is a good one.
Yeah.
Do we have a look at how do we do predictions?
Not well. I didn't do well.
Everyone did remarkably similar.
I was on for a 9-pointer until Hamilton made that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone did remarkably similar, except for our guest predictor, who actually did better.
Cheat.
Does that mean the guests are winning now?
Not exactly. Right, let's have a look. Podcast predictions. So, obviously we had the top three of Leclerc, Bottas and Hamilton. All right, Chris.
Yeah.
Leclerc.
Yes.
Hamilton.
No.
Bottas.
No. 5
Still
points.
got 5 points.
I'll do.
Dan. Vettel.
No.
Leclerc.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
4 points. Lee.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
No.
Bottas. Albon. 4 points. Me. Vettel. Leclerc. Hamilton. 4 points. Getting a thing going on here. Sean. Leclerc, like London buses. Pretty much. Hamilton. Vettel. 4 points. Chris, you are coming out on top of this one.
Currently.
Guest predictor, guest 5. Actually, no, I got it wrong as to who got the most points. Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel. 4 points. Well done, Chris. You pulled a point back on everybody else.
Well, that's so that leaves me closer to the top by a point.
Right. Well, I am currently winning with 49.
Okay.
In second place, we have Dan with 44. In second place, we have Chris with 44. In second place, we have guests with 44. In fifth place, we have Lee with 42. And bringing up the rear, the only journalist amongst a lot of us, Sean with 34.
It's all to play for.
It's still tight. So we'll do that. We'll do that again for Singapore as we always do next week. One of you listening will get the invite to be the guest predictor. And of course, we've got the prediction game on the website. Just go to 3legs4wheels.com and go to the game section and go for the prediction league.
I thought people just sent them in. I didn't, and we picked one. I didn't realise we bestowed this honour on somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I pick somebody every race.
Wow.
Is it time?
Lucky yous. I think so.
I think it is that. It is that time. Oh, just before we shunt this week. Remember last week's shunt where
Vaguely.
nobody could actually pronounce who it was. The one that Santeri sent in from Finland.
Yep.
He has very kindly, turn the volume up on my phone.
Very kindly or really patronisingly, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, no, very kindly because you asked him to.
I was joking, Paul. It's called humour.
Oh, I'm not used to it from you.
I don't think you're used to it.
Hang on, I'm pointing my phone at my microphone.
Technology.
Hey guys, if you ever wondered how to pronounce last week's shunt answer, it's Uffe Dagström.
That's exactly what I said.
Quite a mouthful.
I said exactly that.
Hey guys, if you ever want.
Just going to play it the once.
That sounded then like he just kept saying it. And it was just a long video.
He never got to the finish.
This
Who sent this one in, Lee?
total shunt was sent in by Ian White.
Hello, Ian, and
Yeah.
thank you.
It's not Ian Wright with a lisp. It's
Ian White.
I remember that episode of the Jonathan Ross Show.
I was born
Yay.
in 1971.
Okay.
48.
I was on the podium in my first ever race.
Impressive. But was it an F1 race?
I'm almost convinced we've had this one before, but
Okay.
not from this man because he messaged me today. My main rival was a former Formula One driver.
A former Formula One driver.
So it's not Formula One sport that we're looking at then.
I'd like a guess.
I'll bet you would.
Jeff Gordon.
Interestingly enough, he hasn't put the answer, and I don't know his name.
Scott Virgil, if we're just naming random Thunderbirds pilots.
Is that what we're going with?
Are we going with Jeff Gordon with
I don't know.
Juan Pablo Montoya as the rival?
Yeah, could be.
Maybe.
Brains Lady Penelope.
The former Formula One driver was also one of my teammates.
Okay.
My other race partner, teammate, I don't know whether that's what he meant or not, was also my childhood best friend.
This is going to be some kind of cartoon character, like Speed Racer or
Some
something.
sort of endurance racer or something. But yeah, go on.
Oh,
Is that on 6? Is it?
No.
Okay.
I spent most of my career with Dennett Racing.
Never heard of him.
I'd like a guess, please.
Lightning McQueen? Again?
I had a terrible crash at Lowe's Motor Speedway where I was believed to be paralysed from the waist down.
Just trying to think which one Lowe's Motor Speedway is, and I can't remember. I know it's an oval.
I believe it's in America.
Really?
So we still don't know if we're looking at a NASCAR or an IndyCar driver,
No.
do we?
And Lee's also Googling the answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you send in a total shunt, it helps if you put the answer in.
Yeah.
Is Lowe's Motor Speedway, is that the one in Texas?
No idea.
Don't know, I'm afraid.
Or is that Texas Motor Speedway? I know that's a thing. I'm sure it's one I've seen in like Project Cars or Gran Turismo or something. Next clue.
I first started as a pit crew member before making my switch to NASCAR driver, where I won numerous championships.
Yay, NASCAR. I'm out.
Sometimes you've just got to enjoy like this sort of amateur racing.
You might be close with Jeff Gordon. He's a NASCAR carist.
If you don't like the racing, you might find the incest sexy.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right. Name NASCAR drivers. Kyle Busch.
Jeb Hackenbach the Fourth.
Chip Chatterson.
Cletus Vander.
Another clue?
Bo Duke.
Vettel paid homage to me after qualifying for pole at the US Grand Prix in 2013.
I can barely remember last Tuesday. 2013 is a bit of a stretch.
So no, Vettel paid homage to him after Vettel got pole in 2013.
Yes.
I got Zip.
Would you like your final clue?
Yes, please.
I'm not even.
Wait, hang on. Vettel was a Red Bull driver then, so it's going to be somebody who has something to do with Red Bull, probably.
Whilst at Donnet Racing, if that's how you pronounce that, my title sponsor was Wonder Bread, but I do love Fig Newtons.
I can picture the Fig Newton's car in my head, but don't know who drives it.
The most gravity-centric of biscuits.
Would you like the spaffer?
Yes.
Shake and bake.
Ricky Bobby.
Yes, I am Ricky Bobby. I'm sure we've had Ricky Bobby before, or
No, we had the one that Sacha Baron Cohen played.
Right, that's it. Because at first I thought it was Sacha Baron Cohen's character, and then as I was reading that, I was reading IMDb trying to remember what the film was.
That one nearly got us. I'm claiming half a win on that.
It also got a 6.6 on IMDb, which I think is
Generous?
Generous, yeah, really. And it's also in the comedy section, which I also think is generous.
How do you send a total shunt in?
You can tweet me at a total shunt, or you can go on Instagram, where I am also at a total shunt.
Do it by direct message on both.
Yes.
If you want to get in touch with...
And include the answer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, giving the answer is not the spaffer. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can get us on Twitter at 3 Legs 4 Wheels. We're on Facebook. Just look for at 3 Legs 4 Wheels on there, as well as Instagram.
Yeah.
And you can tweet us individually.
At Flo21.
At Dan Dankleton.
At Pablo100 and at Sean Cowper. If you're old school and want to email, it's 3legs4wheels at gmail.com. Right.
You can also get us at P.O. Box.
I had one of them once. It was for work. Right, time for a Formula Lee style jump cut. This week's Formula Lee was a lap of Monza in the Alfa Romeo in the wet. And you needed a time of 1 minute 33.532 to get into the top 20. And these are the people who did. 20th place, we had Nick Patakis. In 19th was Sam Day. 18th, Brooks de Geer. I came 17th, points again. 16th was Adam Smith. 15th, James Paschal. 14th was Marcel Streich. 13th was Chris Shales. 12th, Weitzer Camping. 11th was Santerio Nasty. Top 10. 10th was Joe Marsh. 9th, Matthew Morrison. 8th, Michael J. Keller. 7th was Kyle Armstrong. 6th, Alberto Roldan. 5th was Carl Toomey. And 4th place was Pete Bull. Top 3, third with a time of 1:31.723 and hoping that he'd actually get a podium was Julian McMahon-Hyde. Second place with a time of 1:31.617 was Alessandro Popolani. And winning this week with 1:31.542, as usual, Chris Albee. Right, 2-week challenge next for Singapore, and it's going to be a dry race. And this time we will have it in the Ferrari. You have got until the Monday after the race, which will be Monday the 23rd, 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern time in the US. Get them into us in the usual way. And that's probably going to be the last jump cut that I record for quite some time. And that was Formula Lee, which I've recorded tomorrow. That's about it for this week, isn't it?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Right, we'll be back next week. We'll be previewing the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yes, we will.
We're going to have Sean Kelly on the show sometime soon. Maybe on the actual show on Monday, or might do one later in the week, depending on his schedule. I've got to get it sorted out with him. But we'll see you then.
See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Charlotte
Bye.
Claire cheated.